Hi everyone, happy weekend. And today I'm using the Goddess Tarot. Um, see if it makes any sense. So let's just jump right into it. Uh, your life is about to flip in a way that feels almost disorienting. And the reason this qualifies as a warning is because even when change is positive, radical change requires adjustment, requires letting go of what was to make space for what's becoming. A 180-degree turn means facing the opposite direction. What you've been moving toward might shift completely. What you thought you wanted might reveal itself as what you needed to want before you could want what's actually right. Let me describe what this looks like. You may have been on a specific path, committed to a particular direction, convinced that your destination was clear and your route was set, and you've been walking that path with determination. Some people experience commitment to a path as identity. They become the person who's doing this thing, going this direction, building toward this specific outcome. And deviating feels like losing themselves. It might feel like you've invested too much to change course now, like all the time and energy and sacrifice would be wasted if you suddenly went a different direction. Like consistency is virtue and changing your mind is failure. But here's what's shifting: new information is emerging, new perspective is developing, new truth is becoming undeniable. And that truth is showing you that your current direction isn't actually aligned with where you need to go. Let's pause here. This reflection invites you to consider: have you been walking a path out of momentum rather than actual desire? Maybe you chose this direction years ago, based on who you were then, based on what you understood about yourself and the world, based on limited options or limited vision or limited confidence. You may have changed since then, grown, evolved, discovered things about yourself that contradict the path you're on. But you've kept walking it anyway because stopping feels like admitting you were wrong. It's possible you weren't wrong then, you were just different. And making choices that aligned with who you were doesn't mean you have to keep making those choices when they no longer align with who you've become. Some people stay on wrong paths their entire lives because they confuse commitment with stubbornness. They think changing direction is weak, that pivoting is quitting. That evolution is betrayal of their former self. You may have been operating from that mindset, staying committed to a path that no longer fits because you told yourself you would, because other people expect you to, because your identity is wrapped up in being the person who does this thing. It can feel destabilizing to realize the path you're on isn't right anymore. Like the ground is shifting, like everything you've built your life around needs to be questioned. But that destabilization is actually recalibration. Your system is trying to reorient toward truth, and truth requires releasing what's no longer accurate, even when releasing feels like loss. This reflection invites you to consider: what would you be doing if you weren't committed to what you've already invested in? There's something specific about what a 180-degree turn might look like. It's possible it's relational. You've been pursuing someone or something in relationship that you're about to walk away from. Or you've been running from connection that you're about to turn and face. You may have been convinced you knew what you wanted romantically, what you needed, what kind of person or dynamic would make you happy, and you're about to discover you were chasing the wrong thing entirely. Some people spend years pursuing what they think they want, only to discover that getting it doesn't feel how they imagined, that the fantasy was more appealing than the reality, that they were attracted to an idea, not an actual fit. You may be approaching that discovery, that what you've been working toward in love isn't actually what serves you, that the person you thought was perfect isn't, that the dynamic you wanted is actually what you need to avoid. Or maybe it's professional. You've been building toward one career outcome and you're about to pivot completely, change industries, change roles, change your entire relationship to work. It can feel terrifying to abandon professional momentum, like you're throwing away years of building, like you're starting over from zero when you thought you were approaching arrival. But sometimes starting over isn't going backward. It's finally going in the right direction after spending years going the wrong way efficiently. This reflection invites you to consider, if you could start over knowing what you know now, would you choose the same path? Let me talk about why this turn is happening in this period specifically. It's possible you've reached a breaking point. The misalignment between your path and your truth has become unbearable. You can't ignore it anymore, can't rationalize it away, can't keep pretending everything's fine when everything feels wrong. You may have been managing discomfort for months or years, telling yourself it's temporary, that things will get better, that you just need to push through this phase, and then it'll feel right again. Some people wait for breaking points because they need external crisis to justify internal knowing. They can't trust themselves to change course without disaster forcing them to. You may be one of those people, or you may be someone who's finally learning to trust discomfort as information before it becomes crisis. It can feel premature to make major changes based on feelings rather than facts. Like you should wait for concrete evidence that your current path is wrong before abandoning it. But feelings are data. Discomfort is information. And if you've been uncomfortable long enough, you have all the evidence you need. What this period might be offering is permission. Permission to change your mind. Permission to choose differently. Permission to prioritize alignment over consistency. Some people need external permission because giving it to themselves feels too risky. They need someone or something to validate that, yes, it's okay to pivot. Yes, changing direction isn't failure. You may be receiving that permission now from circumstances, from clarity, from exhaustion with pretending, from whatever source you need to finally act on what you've known for a while. It can feel validating when external reality confirms internal knowing, like you're not crazy, like what you've been sensing was real. But you didn't need external validation. You just needed to trust yourself enough to act on your own knowing without it. This reflection invites you to consider, what have you known needs to change, but been waiting for permission to change? There's something about what you need to do to navigate this turn. It's possible you need to grieve what you're leaving behind, even if it wasn't right, even if it was making you miserable. Loss is still loss. And turning 180 degrees means walking away from everything you've been moving toward. You may need to acknowledge that grief, to honor what that path meant to you, what you learned there, who you became while walking it, even as you recognize it's time to walk differently. Some people try to skip grief and jump straight to the new direction. They want to be excited about what's coming without being sad about what's going. but grief and excitement can coexist. You may need to hold both, sad about what you're releasing and hopeful about what you're turning toward. Mourning the version of your future you're not going to live and celebrating the one you're choosing instead. It can feel like grieving means you're not ready to change. Like you should be all in on the new direction without looking back. But looking back doesn't mean going back. You can honor what was while still choosing what's next. What you might also need is to communicate your turn to people who knew you in your old direction, people who expect you to keep being who you were, who have their own investment in you staying on your path. Some people will understand, will support your evolution, will celebrate that you're choosing alignment over momentum. But some won't. Some will be confused, disappointed, maybe even angry that you're changing in ways that affect them or contradict their expectations. It can feel like you owe people explanations, like you need to justify your choices, like changing affects them so they get a vote. But they don't. Your life is yours to redirect, and other people's comfort with your consistency doesn't supersede your need for alignment. You remain in complete control of whether you make this turn or keep walking your current path. You can pivot or persist, change or stay, trust new knowing or honor old commitments. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has brought up specific areas where you've been feeling misaligned. Maybe relief that change is coming. Maybe fear of what turning around requires. Maybe recognition that you've known this was coming. Whatever it is, honor it. Take what resonates. Softly release the rest. Trust yourself. Before we close, I want to ask you something. If you could do a complete 180 inches, one area of your life right now, what would you turn away from? Drop it in the comments. And this, what's scarier, staying on the wrong path or having the courage to turn around? I warn you, a 180-degree turn in your life. Not as threat, but as preparation. So you're not blindsided by the shift, so you can work with it instead of against it. So you can recognize that turning around isn't failure, it's course correction. You've been walking the wrong way, not wrong for who you were, but wrong for who you're becoming. And continuing just because you've come this far makes no sense when every step takes you further from where you need to be. Not eventually. In this period, trust yourself with this. Trust that 180 degrees is sometimes the right angle. Trust that changing direction takes courage, not weakness. Trust that you can handle the disorientation of turning around and walking toward truth. See you in the next one. And listen, the only thing worse than turning around after going the wrong way is continuing to go the wrong way just because you've already invested so much in it. Turn around, face the right direction, walk toward what's actually right. Take care.